Olive groves and 30. Stay in your lane, we whine as cars weave on the highway. Within a half hour, we know two things about driving in Italy. One, there may be 2 lanes each way, but 3 really exist. Left, right, and smack dab in the center. 2, stay right because when they pass fast. Thankfully, 2 uneventful hours from leaving Rome Fiumicino Airport, we pull up to our villa and begin the celebration. 4 years ago, at 26, I vowed to celebrate 30, not pine after my 20s. Vow 1, rent a villa in Tuscany with as many girlfriends as possible. 5 of us arrive in Lucignano, 2 freshly 30 and 3 of us on the cusp. The owners greet us and show surprise at our age, an easy 20 to 30 years below the norm. Poggio Squisito surpasses our expectations with its large rooms, cheerful patios, and landscape awash with spring. Green, yellow, red, and purple sprinkle the view. I am no gardener, but the sight, smells, and sounds ease the tension knotted from work, 2 flights, and the drive. The olive trees permeate the air. The rich kitchen fragrance comes so clear to my nose that I do not need to rub its leaves to smell it. After choosing rooms and unpacking our small suitcases, we take the 10-minute leisurely stroll into the village of Lucignano. Its narrow, circular streets lead up to the center of many Italian towns, the church. The spring festival, Maggiolata Lucignese, begins tomorrow, and the village hums with life. Europop echoes down a deserted, windy street. Colored flags already fly in preparation. A cat lazily saunters down the street. I want to be nowhere else but here. Tuscany invites you to fall into a life of leisure with your first Italian meal. We sit under a sky slowly darkening in the late night. Clusters of lights emerge on the horizon as small towns awaken in the darkness. Lucignano sits peacefully behind us, its weathered brick alive in lights. Candlelight illuminates our feast. Fresh olives, bottles of red local wine, steaming pasta and vegetables, bowls of fruit, jugs of water, crisp new bread and oil, and warm tea. We nibble, sigh, and savor long after the bugs nip at our ankles. Each person comes to Tuscany with their own agenda. I want to photograph, write, and observe. I want to eat, drink, and curl up in this antique chair. I am here to bask in a new decade of beauty. When we walk into town the next day, yellow flowers lay on the cobbled streets outside doors. An old man climbs a ladder to lace his flowers in a narrow slit in an aged door. I later discover that these aged doors, which once housed carts or workshops, now serve as garages for the tiny, speedy cars we encounter throughout Italy. From the hour it takes us to enjoy a walk around town and a leisurely morning espresso, Lucignano comes alive. The same yellow flowers now decorate windows and doors. 4 different colored banners hang in 4 areas of the village. People begin to open their windows and walk the streets. As we come across the beginning of the procession, I smile with visions of Romeo and Juliet. Men in shirts and tights that match the 4 flags, women in medieval dresses with flower crowns adorning their long hair, children in traditional robes skipping down streets, showing younger siblings the proper walk. We see the procession a few times as we amble, and just when we think it ends, the crowd shouts. 4 men in tights race around the corner with batons, trying not to slip on the aged stones slick with the morning rain. One of them falls and his race ends. When the afternoon rain comes, we return to the villa and sit in cozy comfort with the windows open. Thunder only adds to the peace as our white wine takes us further into a lazy afternoon. A band carries on the afternoon wind. When we enter a local bar that evening, cheers go up and we join the celebration. Over a few hours, we hear the local song many times, each time more slurred and more enthusiastic. I recognize a man earlier decked out in a long robe and sword, a man of Italian poetry transformed. I drink my red wine and notice that all the men down the bar drink it too. The main events of the festival occur on the weekends, so we use the weekdays to travel Tuscany. The next day we take our first day trip to Pisa and Lucca. We avoid the highway and take the scenic route. The rental car map becomes obsolete after a few stressful, uncertain turns. No cars pass us for hours. We turn, wind, and brake down roads surrounded by poppy fields and Chianti vines. We brake to calm our stomachs and appreciate the undulating vineyards sprawled on both sides. This quiet seclusion abruptly ends as we drive into the hectic bustle of Pisa. We squeeze our car into a parking space close to the tower. I spend an hour around the leaning tower recording the worn gargoyles and aging colors on marble and roll after roll of film. We make the mistake of choosing a restaurant near the tower, and we eat our most uninspired Italian meal. We willingly leave Pisa 2 hours after our arrival and head to Lucca, Puccini's birthplace. Lucca's Tuscan charm, bright church, balconies with flowers, stone walls, inspire without much effort. It offers a welcome break from Pisa's noise, and we join people leisurely walking atop the medieval city walls. Peace flags drape from windows, bikes and alleys reflect the high sun, and a small fountain in the center of piazza adds to the lull. The next day we drive to Arezzo and join train commuters on their way to work in Firenze. Florence gave me fond memories 10 years ago. Stained glass windows draping colors over a tomb in Santa Maria Novella, simple pasta meals with red wine, the hostel's winding staircases lined with murals. I am eager to walk its streets again. We head straight to the Galleria dell'Accademia for Michelangelo's David. The line stretches for 3 blocks, but we take turns waiting and walking the narrow streets with zipping scooters. Even though I skipped this museum 10 years ago for the inexhaustible Uffizi, I am not that excited. All this wait for one little statue? Due to some unknown cultural holiday, everyone enters free. When at last I stand at the rotunda, I am ashamed at my blasé attitude of an hour earlier. I stare at David's tight calf, his pulsing veins, his uncertain gaze. I want to go back to the entry and pay for this perfection. Michelangelo's David is not the only surprise. The plaster molds in the next room make me uncomfortable as nails poke out of faces and bodies. Michelangelo's slaves, half free from stone, stun me. I buy postcards as I leave, and I am still stunned an hour later when we eat lunch with the Duomo rising behind us. I leave my friends at the Uffizi and wander. Firenze and I meet again with different expectations of each other. I walk under the arches along the Arno, across the Ponte Vecchio and its shops of gold sparkling in the afternoon sun. Lovers snuggle and gaze down the Arno. 2 kayakers appear from under the bridge and glide away. I return to the winding streets and splurge on Florentine paper and Murano necklaces. I walk past old and new architecture and avoid the map. Firenze and I enjoy a quiet reunion. I walk to Santa Croce, closed for the day. I can still remember Dante's empty tomb, Galileo, and the darkness, so I am not disappointed by its closed doors. I return to the Duomo to await my friends. A few hundred people search for dry seats from the afternoon washing. When I see my friends again, I feel soaked in color. 10 years later, Firenze still enchants me. The beauty of a week-long villa rental lies in the flexibility. We wake when we want and go where we want. We eat simple in our kitchen or decadent in a humble restaurant. On our 5th day, we take a lazy stroll into town for the daily teeth-staining espresso. We buy food for a picnic lunch. The sky shines a brilliant blue as we drive to San Gimignano for an afternoon stroll. We park our car and enjoy an alfresco lunch. With the sound of the vineyard workers below us, we drink wine, spit out pits, sigh over fresh strawberries, and crunch on fresh bread. The soft tickle of the grass complements the contentment the wine pours through me. San Gimignano welcomes all its tourists with open arms and shops. For an hour we go our separate ways and take in the town. The towers decorate the sky, and it's caught in clouds with age. 100 feet in the air, a flower grows out of a tower's weathered brick. A pianist in a ruin offers notes for casual listeners and a donation box for serious ones. I pick my way through the piazza where young boys kick a football around visitors looking up. The wine wears off and we head to Sienna for the evening sunset, finding a parking spot on a steep decline on a hill outside town. We find the piazza alive with pink marble, the setting sun and afternoon energy. We circle the Duomo and make our way past St. Catherine of Siena to the fortress. We find the Enoteca Italiana, the Italian wine museum at the fortress, and we try Vinsanto, a late harvest wine, a thick, burnt yellow. One glass of this makes us giddy as we watch runners do laps around the castle walls. We watch the spires of Siena and the rugged outline of old and new as the sun sets slowly behind the town. When the light peacefully fades, our stomachs pull us down into town. We find a large restaurant with a quiet outdoor patio and feast like queens on vacation. After dinner, getting out of the tight parking spot in a decline using stick shift proves a frustrating challenge. We end the night back at Poggio Squisito, where we sit outside, watch the moon, sip tea, and talk. After 2 days of passing through Chianti, we make our 6th day a meandering Chianti drive. We pack another picnic and wave goodbye to our friends staying behind to enjoy the quiet. We wander through small towns with Chianti in the name and follow random brown signs to wineries. We first stop at a long-established winery where a friendly Australian pours us a few of the new wines. A wall of souvenirs and glasses tempt us, but the afternoon is young. We peek through iron gates and gaze into orderly vineyards. The landscape breathes of a quiet life, long catering to the sensual fruit. We search for a serene place to eat lunch, and we find it outside a closed winery. We watch solitary workers prune the vines as we make a picnic off the road. When we return to our meandering, we find a humble winery hidden in a small village. We taste their lovely wines and grappa, which pleases the growing grappa aficionado amongst us. We then find ourselves at the castle of Broglio, hiking up a steep hill. At the top of the castle, the view of the formal gardens and quilted fields offers contemplation and rest on this quiet May afternoon. Tourist chatter and the buzz of farm equipment seep into the calm, and we begin our long descent down the hill and back to Lucignano. That evening, the town emerges for a local fashion show. Couples stroll with gelato. A man climbs a ladder and unscrews bulbs from street lamps. The piazza grows darker as families find good seats. The music begins and local models show off the wares of local stores. Little girls in swimsuits, men in jeans, women in stilettos, all wearing the newest fashion trends. Kids stand at the stage, laugh, and comment as their neighbors pose and strut. On our final full day in Lucignano, I wake up to a painter scraping the garage outside. The interruption reminds me that this is not my home, and we must leave tomorrow. We stay in Lucignano on our final day to appreciate this relief from urban life. Out by the pool, birds hold conversations. The sun warms my scalp. I think of going for my hat, but I am planted in the chair. 2 of us dare to try out the pool, and we do not warm up with time. Summer is still weeks away, and the spring chill lingers. The clouds roll in and a quiet rain descends on the village. That evening we eat our last dinner in town, quiet in our own thoughts. After a week, words start to flow with ease, and I long to stay, to wander the hills on foot with my notebook and camera, to eat my simple packed lunch. A week in Tuscany overloads me with smells and sights, but when I leave inspired. When 30 comes 2 months later, I sip wine at a Michigan vineyard and dream of Italy.